All right, let's now welcome the CEO of the SA Water Chamber, Benoit Le Roy, to help us unpack, of course, South Africa's water challenges as governments strive to address water shortages in the country. A very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for your time. When you consider that the Imbizo, as we've just earlier said, is aimed to provide a platform for critical conversations and collective thinking on tangible solutions towards existing water issues in the country, as they've indicated, how important do you think is civil society in these discussions? In my earlier interview an hour ago, it came to light that voices from communities are not in those rooms.
Yes, good afternoon to you and the viewers. I think we are seeing a lot more public participation and more active citizenry. We probably see it more in the metros. It's more active than in the rural areas, and so society is starting to react because we have these water outages and we have these pollution issues. So society is in there, but what you've got to remember is that society needs to pay for it, and the service providers need to provide the service. And that's where the issue is. You know, the money is not going to where it's supposed to go because it's not ring fenced, for example. So we're uncovering all of these things because we haven't paid too much attention for the last couple of decades, and now they've come. It's a slow onset disaster. That's the way water works, unfortunately, unlike electricity. So it's good to have the conversation. It is Water Week. We are having a water summit on Thursday and Friday with national government. So all the water service authorities, water service providers will be there with the regulator, etc., and the water boards to try and work through these issues. But at least we're working through them, and the action will start unfolding, hopefully.
And give us a sense then, in as far as the summit is concerned, what are some of your key focus areas? And importantly, what are you hoping to achieve?
So there's two key focus areas. One is management of the resource. So it's volume, the available volume, and also the quality. So it's surface water and groundwater. And we are moving towards seawater abstraction and desalination. And the other side is the water service provision side. So that's really where local government fits in providing potable water and also treating the sewage, which we know has not been done adequately. So those are the two main streams. And the idea is to be able to bring everybody around the table and to be able to work through the key issues so these can be prioritized and can be addressed. So national government is supporting this. Local government is not yet, let's say, on the train. They have to come on the train. They have a lot of issues to address, and water is just one of them. So I think we will be able to get to some more definitive, urgent topics. And very importantly, the water service providers will be licensed later on this year. So if you're not abiding by your license conditions, it will be withdrawn and you will be replaced. That means you lose revenue, etc., and the revenue will go to a licensed service provider who actually has the capacity. So we're going to have some competition now, which is going to help improve the quality of service. So we're busy this is a transition we're going through now.
I mean, the big issue, especially at national level, are quite important, but significantly the concern about the local government, the issues that actually affect the people on the ground. I mean, how concerned are you that there is no participation, particularly if we look at this conference, that those voices will not be heard at local level, where essentially people are saying, you know what, we're not getting the service that we should be getting. We're not getting it for days on end, for weeks on end, for months on end.
So local government is elected by locals, and so we need to ensure that we elect the people who are able to represent what we need. So if that's a problem, we need to change that. So that really has to be done at local level. The constitutional mandate that local government has will be represented at the summit on behalf of those city and town dwellers. So your voice is being heard by those you've elected. So it's not as if they're not being heard. There's also a capacity issue. This is the perfect storm, we call it. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of problems happening, and really the challenge is how do we address these and how do we prioritize? So national government is trying to support this, but local government is independent in these. So, national government is a custodian of water resource, and it's also the regulator and the policy generator. And unfortunately, a lot of that's not filtering down to local government. So we have a complicated government architecture, 3 spheres: national, provincial, and local. And the CMAs, or catchment management agencies that sit at a provincial level really for the catchments, also not really capacitated at the moment. So we've got a lot of empty spaces that we've really got to fill. But I think today, if you look at the media, social media and the likes, we're able to be quite active quite quickly in real time. So the voices are heard. Believe me, they are heard, and water is becoming, a big priority, because there's no alternative to it, unlike energy. We have to have that water, and it's a health issue, and we're polluting our environment incredibly at the moment, purely because the municipal sewage works are not functioning adequately, and population has doubled in the last 40 years, but we have the same water. So the pollution levels are just incredible. So we've got to address those two, because the cost of treating polluted water is also more expensive, which means water costs are going to go up. We're starting to find the real cost of, the lapses of governance, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, just on that quality issue, also some key problems there. I'm reminded with our earlier clip that we played, where a senior manager at the Water Research Commission basically was saying that, science, knowledge and innovation will be central to resolving the country's water problems. Just speaking on the science component, I mean, how big a role should science be playing here, particularly when you start talking about innovative ways in which we can start, fixing some of those challenges?
Okay, I'm having a little bit of a laugh, because technology and science is not the issue. This is well proven. A lot of it was developed in South Africa 30, 40 years ago and used worldwide in water treatment and wastewater treatment. The issue is a local government issue, and it's a national government regulatory issue, imposing the regulations. And so there's an abundance of technology, South African technology, international technology. All these things are readily available. We really don't need to research what we know works. What we've got to do is research capacity building, and we need to intermesh all of these moving parts, and that's quite difficult to do, and link up also the next generation that was mentioned. We need to have a generation. We're moving on now, and we need a generation to replace us, and unfortunately that gap is quite big. So that's where we need to put a lot of effort through academia and through the tertiary institutions, etc. But the technology, generally speaking, is all quite available. And if you just look at the Western Cape and Cape Town specifically, you'll see most of the technology being used in these major projects is 100% South African. So it's not really a technology issue, so to speak. What a lot of the research organizations are doing are monitoring the water quality impacts that we're having by non-functional sewage works, etc. And that's quite a laborious exercise that has to be monitored and fed into the water value chain. But really, we do have the tech. In actual fact, we have a water and sanitation reindustrialization master plan, where we're looking to become net exporters of our technology and our components in the water value chain that we used to do, because we import a lot now. So we've got to reverse that. So we've got to build a capacity, internally to do that. But certainly there's nothing new on the table that we have to invent. That we're quite sure of.